average American household spends more than $7,700 per year on food expenses. For most households, this is our third largest expense, only behind housing and transportation. And if you live in an urban area, food is your second largest expense statistically. So we spend a lot of money on food. Obviously, we need food to survive, but how can we save money on food? I save thousands of dollars per year as compared to maybe the average person on food expenses by using a variety of different tactics that I'm going to share with you in this video. And it's not by starving yourself or by eating at some obscure place that you're getting like 50-cent food items. I don't know where the hell I was going with that. So let's get started with this video. I think there's going to be some really fun topics in here. I'll show you some of the actual strategies that I use in my kitchen. Might cook a couple things as well. We've had quite a few requests for some Nate cooking videos, so we might slide in a couple little recipes in there. But let's get started here, and let's start with the first kind of idea that we need to think about when we're trying to save money on food, so that we're not spending $7,000 per year, but maybe getting it down to $3,000 or $4,000 per year on food expenses while still being healthy. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to plan ahead. Now, obviously, this seems pretty obvious. It seems pretty simple, but many people don't do this. So what we need to do here is before we walk into a grocery store because we haven't eaten in 2 days and we're starving and we're just gonna spend like $400 on random food because we're so hungry, don't go to the grocery store on an empty stomach. This is like the first big problem. But the worst is when people go to the store on an empty stomach and they also don't have a plan for the week. So start planning out your meals ahead of time, plan them out for a week. I basically have 6 different blocks of meals that I line up for weeks, and then I can alternate these weeks. And I use this so that every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I have something planned. I don't have to necessarily eat it if I don't want to, but I have something planned and ready to go in case I get hungry, and so I don't have to scramble around, and I don't have to say, oh, what am I going to eat for dinner? I don't have any ingredients. What do I have? And then I have to look around. Suddenly I realize I don't have anything good, so then I have to go over to Chipotle and buy food. That's the biggest problem that we face. Planning ahead is the most important step. Once we start planning, then we'll see how this can really, really work out for us and save us a lot of money. Real quick, if you're wondering what the hell you should do with all this money that you end up saving on food, well, you might want to consider our sponsor for today's video, which is Wealthfront. Now, this is a service that helps you invest your money for a minimal fee of just 0.25%. So instead of spending countless hours trying to handpick stocks, you can simply tell Wealthfront about your risk tolerance through a few taps within their app, and they can invest your money for you. I've said this many times, but I really think that what sets Wealthfront apart from traditional investing services is the use of tax loss harvesting that they implement. So their software executes trades strategically in an attempt to lower your overall tax burden from your investments. So I personally think that Wealthfront is a great fit for those individuals who are looking to passively invest their money. They have some pretty cool people at this company, the founder being Andy Ratcliffe, who's an idol of mine, and their chief investment officer at the moment is Burton Malkiel, the author of A Random Walk Down Wall Street, which, as you know, is one of my favorite books. And hey, if you're looking for services beyond investing, Wealthfront also offers banking and borrowing solutions as well. So thank you, Wealthfront, for sponsoring a portion of this video. I will leave a link in the description where you can get your first $5,000 managed for free for using their service. All right, now let's get back to talking about how we can save money with food. So another idea that we can utilize is to think about where our largest expenses are from our actual food budgets. And actually, for most people, it tends to be meat. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to go full vegetarian, but thinking about the types of meats that you're eating and then looking at how you can cut back on certain types that are maybe more expensive. For example, if you're eating like New York strip steaks every night, that's going to really add up, or your filet mignon, that's really going to add up. So think about the type of meat that you're eating, and also maybe consider cutting it out entirely if that's something that you're considering exploring, because on average, there's been a couple studies on this, but on average, people who are vegetarians end up saving about $750 per year on their food budgets as compared to people who do eat meat. So if we look at the most expensive meats, we can see that certain types of red meats like beef can be far more expensive than something like chicken, which tends to be on the less expensive side and also arguably a little bit healthier than some types of red meats. So when we're planning our food, we need to think about a budget that we can set for a week. Now, if you go into the store with no plan, but also no plan on how much you're spending, this is where we see a lot of problems. So what you need to do, and I always urge people to do this, is to set a strict budget for a week, or maybe you want to do a monthly food budget for exactly how much you're allowed to spend when you go to the store. So for me right now, I've increased my food budget a little bit. I allow myself to spend $45 per week on food. Now you can modify this depending on your income, depending on how much money you're trying to save. If you're trying to save a lot, you could probably get it down closer to $35 or $40 per week, or if maybe you have a large family, you might have to spend $100 or $200 a week. Depends on the size of your family and how many people are living in your household. But you have to have a very strict budget and then not allow yourself to go over that budget for the week. So sometimes I'm at the store and I'm looking at my budget and I say, well, I can either buy these avocados or I can buy these apples, but I probably can't buy both this week. And so that's something that I do, and it's really, really helpful to make sure that you stay on top of your budget so you're not spending $400 at the store accidentally and running out of money. Now you also want to consider buying store brand or generic brand over the brand names that we're used to. So instead of buying some Frosted Flakes, maybe consider buying those Flake Frosts or whatever they call them at the store, the knockoff brands, because honestly, most of them, and there's actually been tests, you can look at Consumer Reports, they run a lot of different tests on this. In a lot of cases, this food is nearly the same of brand name items like Chef Boyardee versus like some other type of like weird noodles. In most cases, it's fairly the same. There's a couple differences, like Pop-Tarts, for example. The real Pop-Tarts are better than the store brand, by the way, or Oreos. But for the most part, they're fairly similar. And on average, you can save over 15% by buying store brand over the brand names, which 15% on, say you spend $7,000 per year on food, that's almost $1,000 per year that you can save by buying the store brand versus the name brand items for food. So that's a quick little tip to save you money instantly. Now, I'm not Andre Jick, but experience, perfect. All right, so I know, guys, I'm working on my magic game, but so right now I'm gonna make some food for the week, and what I like to do is meal prepping. So I have all this Tupperware back here. That's probably like a third of the Tupperware that I have. So I'm a minimalist, but I like to invest into a lot because I load up the freezer here with a lot of different foods. So what I'll do is I'll make food in bulk and then freeze most of it, eat just a little bit now, freeze most of it so I have it for the rest of the week and for the rest of the month, and I can go back and I can eat it at any point. So this is really great, especially for when, say, it's like 10 p.m., I'm ready to go to bed, but suddenly I get really hungry. So instead of having to figure out what the hell I'm gonna eat or go over to McDonald's or something, which is absolutely terrible, I'll just go into my freezer, pull something out, throw it in a pan or throw it in the microwave, and I have something that was frozen that I made earlier that I can eat, and it saves me a lot of money by just doing that. So let's get cooking here. This is probably gonna cost maybe, I think all these ingredients combined was like $5. It's really, really inexpensive, and it's gonna be pretty tasty. So I just made all this chicken noodle soup. It's very, well, noodly, but now I'm just gonna put it all away in my freezer, and this can last me, this is gonna last me so much because this is meals right here. In total, what, this cost me maybe $1, maybe, to make this entire thing. And there's a lot of carbs in here, trust me. But I'm just gonna freeze all of these, and I should have gotten a larger Instant Pot. If you're gonna do this meal prep, I would definitely recommend getting a larger Instant Pot. I don't know how large this one is, how many liters it is, but it's definitely so effective, and I just pack all these up. I'm probably gonna get a separate freezer in this apartment just so that I can do this meal prepping a lot more, because I can freeze this and this can be in here for many, many weeks, and I can just take it out, boom, eat food, and I'm good to go, and I don't have to make this food all the time. So just loading these up here, getting tons of meals out of this. Sometimes people compare me to Gordon Ramsay, maybe a little bit of Emerald in there. Rachel Ray sometimes, I know. My dad was a chef or like a fry cook, but it's all the same to me, right? I probably just offended a lot of chefs there. Just packing up my food. that you're watching on YouTube here. I mean, I can probably get 2 more of these Tupperware things out of this, but I'm actually gonna have a bowl right now. Now, there's one other tip that I can leave for you here in this video for trying to save money on food, and it's actually when looking at restaurants and eating out, which is totally fine. I mean, everybody loves to eat out, and I certainly like to go to eat out, maybe not in 2020 so much for obvious reasons, but it's great to do. And I think it's important if you have friends that invite you out to dinner somewhere or family, go spend money, it's fine. But if you're looking to save money on restaurants, a great kind of tactic that I use is to just think about the drinks that you're consuming at a restaurant, because it surprises me how people will spend a lot more on drinks than they do on actual food at a restaurant. So you go and you get a steak for $20, but then you get 3 drinks, and each one of those drinks is $12. Well, suddenly you're spending 50% more than 50% on your drinks at a restaurant. So I usually just order water when I go out to eat, and then I'll still get a nice meal for overall lower cost than what most people do, because they add all the alcohol on top of it, and it gets pretty expensive from that way. So that's just a little tip I wanted to leave you there with. But if you found value in this video, I would appreciate if you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I don't know if how many more cooking videos we'll make, but I think this is pretty good, so.